photo of the Western Wall that represents and looks like the tablets for the Ten Commandments. So I decided to incorporate all these elements from like Rosh Hashanah and just festivals, traditions from Judaism to not only say that I have chosen my religious path, and I'm hoping that with information that I enlist on this channel will help someone else as well want to choose to follow Hashem and also convert to Judaism. But aside from that, I wanted to just briefly explain why I chose some of these elements. And I'm not going to go too into the reason why, because I want you to do your own research on the elements to give you insight, and you can start to navigate and journey your own experience through Judaism to find out if this is something or a path that you want to take. And I can almost guarantee that you will. And you'll come to love, have great reverence and a love and a deep love and respect for the Jewish people and their customs, traditions, and Judaism as much as I do. Either way, there's a lot of items here from like Rosh Hashanah. We have an apple, we have the honey, there's challah bread, there's the shofar, there's pomegranate, there's wine in a wine cup, there's the menorah, there's the mezuzah, there's the ruby, which ruby definitely has great signification for the Proverbs woman. And there's something that I wanted to kind of go in more in depth about the title of this channel, She is Real Light, meaning that the light is with not only inside of me, but it's also inside of everyone. God's light is inside of you, and it's up to you to reach out to Him to gain the nourishment from the Torah, gain the nourishment from the Siddur, so that He can illuminate your light and you can reap the blessings and the benefits. It's a beautiful, wonderful, joyous thing to worship Him. It's not, mundane or boring or, like some people try to make religion seem. So I wanted to shed light on a different outlook or introspective and perception of what religion can be for you in your life when you incorporate it. There's so many benefits and rewards to gain from not to do it just for the rewards, but to just know that God is actually giving you information to help you and to help you throughout your journey. The basic instruction before leaving earth, which is what the Bible stands for, the acronym for Bible, basic instruction before leaving earth. The fact that it just showcases His character and who He is and how, unselfish He is. He's just very giving and thoughtful and caring of our well-being, and He also rewards you for following Him. So why wouldn't you? It's the greatest reward out of your entire life that you could possibly get, and it's the most important thing next to getting married, next to choosing a college or anything major it is that you do in your life, choosing a religion and choosing a path or choosing what to worship, whether you want to be atheist, whatever it is that your decision is. I'm not pressuring anyone to convert or pressuring anyone, because God gave us a will, and so I'm giving you one as well. But I'm just giving you insight on my journey. These are my beliefs, my opinions, and what I think about my experience so far. Now, I put Amalia, work of God, because that's what my Hebrew name means. There's a different spelling for Amalia in Hebrew, but I wanted to put my own customized spelling for it so that you could see my creative side and understand who I am and where this is coming from. So on your far right, you'll see in red letters in Hebrew the spelling of my chosen Hebrew name. So when I convert, that's what I would like my name to be, because I have been through a lot in my life. I've had a lot of near-death experiences, and people like to confine and put you in a box and say that, no, your personality is this or you're this person. Don't let people do that. I know who I am, and God knows who I am better than anybody else, and I do feel like He's been calling me. I've tried to run away from this. Even as a child, I tried to say, I don't want to do Bible studies, that's why I didn't get baptized. It took me until being an adult to get baptized. But I have ran away from God, and He keeps finding me, and He sees the goodness in me. He knows that I'm a good person, And so I think that he keeps pulling me towards him. And this journey is imperative to me and my family. From my salvation, from my family's salvation, it's important to understand and know and evaluate what an afterlife could be or what life is about. And I feel like the Bible definitely has been defining that for me and giving me discipline and structure. It's helping me have discernment, making better decisions in my life. So I think there's a lot of richness, and I've done a lot of growing within this journey. And I just only hope that it helps somebody else navigate that as well. So I'm navigating my spiritual compass. That's another thing that I'm going to be discussing in this channel. But I'll be having different sectors or sections of different topics that I want to talk about. And as you can see, if you look a little bit below, you'll see fruits of the Siddur. And the Siddur is a book of prayers in Judaism. And instead of just reciting the prayers, I also want to do the same thing that we would do with the Tanakh or anything else. You know, I think that we should have a deeper meaning and understanding. So it's good to evaluate what it is that you're reading. And I would stop and pause and give you guys some insight in how it applies to my life and how it's helping me. So there'll be different aspects of this channel like that, you know, that where I'll say, oh, I read this chapter, I'll do a read along, and then, you know, we'll discuss more so of how it will help apply to your life and mine. But going back to the Western Wall, the collage of the video that I made, I'm going to do a separate video while I take away the elements, so you can actually see the wall, the Western Wall itself, and you'll see how the wall represents the Ten Commandments. It actually looks like the tablets for the Ten Commandments. Now, there's actually 613, which is something that I did not know. But just wanted to give you a little intro. You'll see it in the description as well in the next video that I do. But I had no idea what Judaism was, what it was about. I was reading the book of Matthew, and I came across the fact that Jesus was telling the Pharisees and Sadducees that they were hypocrites. And in my opinion, I thought that even for a God, that was a pretty harsh statement to make. So, because God is not really critiquing it, it's kind of contradicting to say that you shouldn't, you're not supposed to condemn. That's condemning people is a sin. And that's exactly what was happening in the book of Matthew when he called them hypocrites. So I said, well, that kind of contradicts what God is really about and what he would do. I mean, he still lays down his law and tell you that you're doing something wrong, but it was just the verbiage, the wording of it and everything for me personally. And it's nothing towards Christians. I have nothing negative. This has nothing to do with that. It's just about me finding the truth and my personal journey. And speaking of truth, there's also another aspect of this channel where I talk about lost scribes. I also have another YouTube channel called Lost Scribes. Lost Scribes, and I'll give a brief, short description of that, is about lost souls. It's about African Americans. It's about Jews. It's about anyone who has been colonized and taken away from their original traditions and customs, and they're wanting to come to learn to find the truth. And do my historical research. I think if you're going to journey down a spiritual path or a religious path and you're looking for, you know, that religion that's right for you, I think that you got to start with history. And that's what I did, and put history with the religion so you can start asking more in-depth questions, not just surface-level questions about how religion originated. You know, how does this begin? How does the Bible originate? And when you start asking yourself these questions, you'll come to find and learn that the Bible was actually burned and abolished. There were parts of it that were rewritten, that were taken out. You know, there was historically things that occurred to keep people oppressed and keep them from learning the truth. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I feel like Judaism is the closest thing to the truth that I personally found. I'm a very analytical person when it comes to my personality and who I am. It matches and aligns with who I am personally. And there's a lot of people that have been in my life that claim to know me that don't know me at all. I've spent a lot of time to myself, by myself, in my room, isolating myself. So there's a lot of people who never ask questions about my personality or who I am, and they really don't know me well enough to say who I really am, first and foremost. But anyway, so going back to what this is about, I just wanted to take away the elements so that you can see the actual structure of this portion of the Western Wall. There, you know, if anybody who lives in Israel takes for granted being able to pray at the Western Wall, being able to look at it, I'm so jealous of you. You are in a position to where you can connect with Hashem on a higher level, I feel like. And I think that you can do it anywhere. Of course, people will say that. It's not necessarily about where you are. But I think there's just a deeper closeness to that. Being able to, you know, go home to your roots and find out who you are is very important. I don't think that it should be the center of your life where you should get, you know, focus in on it so much to where it kind of drives you crazy, or, you know, that you start over analyzing and start thinking about it, overthinking it too much, and it becomes the center of your life. However, I do think it's important to like go back to Africa, or, you know, take a trip there, even if nothing else, and connect with your history. If you cannot know where you're going if you don't know who you are. That's very important in life. So that's the point of what I'm trying to say. Some people are pro-Zionist, some people are anti-Zionist, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what this conversation is about. I'm not trying to get too political. I do have an opinion, but I don't want to get too, you know, into the political realm. However, if I take all these elements away that I did the collage of the Western Wall, you will see that the structure of this photo looks like the Ten Commandments, the tablets for the Ten Commandments. I thought it was beautiful. And then I put Israel on the side, my left, next to the mezuzah, because there's a shape of the Western Wall of this photo that actually looks like the state of Israel on the map. And I thought that was very inspiring. I decided to also put a light that's shining down on all these elements, to represent the light that's not only inside of me. It represents the title of the channel that we all have within us. But if we go and take all these elements and incorporate all of these things that God told us to, then Hashem can illuminate our light. So She Israelites is to shut down all the rumors of, especially me in particular, or Africans, because African Americans have a lot of history, rich history with the Jewish community, dating all the way back to Egypt and even before then, the Canaanite era and everything else. And there's this elephant in the room, if you will, about who is the true Hebrews and all this other stuff. And I don't want to get into that because this is not about race for me. This is just me to say that I feel like we should not be denied converting over to Judaism ever, given the history that we have with them. You know, out of whatever race, I think that we should be allowed to convert, considering the history that we have, no matter the bloodline and all that other stuff. That's my personal opinion. Not to offend anyone, but that is my personal opinion. And I do feel like, since I'm African American, I do have African history or heritage. I believe that I am an Israelite, that I am a Jew, that I am a Hebrew, you know, or whatever you want to call it. Because of the history that we have. I mean, the Egyptians were intermingling and intermixing with the Jews historically. That's a fact. So if we were to do a lot of the blood work, you would, instead of looking for Jewish roots, you should look for African roots in Jews, because I believe that that's a thing and that's there. But regardless, again, this is not about, or I'm not a racist person, so it has nothing to do with race. This is more so about incorporating and get to know, you know, God, and incorporating these elements and these things into our lives. So, but that's my opinion. Not to say I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not saying anything negative about anyone, a particular party, anything like that. I just feel like Africans should just be included and that we should have the opportunity to convert. Okay? So the conversion process is important, and it's a step that cannot be overlooked, because all of the things that we were initially taught from whatever tradition, ritual, or spiritual beliefs that you had previously, they have to be undone so that you can understand how Judaism works. And so I understand that concept. I'm not saying that we should have a free pass to brush over it or to you know, step over that process. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there should be no law or anything that says that we can't, because I looked up the Karaites in different sectors in Africa. There's different people, and they don't have an issue with Karaites in particular. But what I'm saying is there's different groups of people in Africa that are not being recognized as Jews, or not being accepted to convert. And I just disagree with that, considering our history that we have. And if they're following the laws and they're doing the best that they can, then I feel like they should be able to convert. Either way, that's not what this is about. Going back to this. So I do not know everything, and I want to make a disclaimer. I'm not an expert. I'm still converting. Whether I ever convert or not, but I'm still going through the process of learning about this. I'm going to always incorporate this into my life and do the best that I can. I'm not going to be perfect at it. Don't look at me as some perfect, prophet or anything. I just know that I have a calling, and God is calling upon me, and He directed me this way. I know that for a fact. And this is the route that I'm going, because He told me to. So nobody's going to take that from me. Anyway, I'm going to do a separate video where I remove these elements that I put up on the Western Wall so that you can see the shape of Israel. And I just wanted to let you know that my name is on the right. It means Amalia. That's Amalia written in Hebrew. I am learning Hebrew. And I think that this journey has been very exciting, uplifting, and fun for me. And when I was younger, I used to think that religion was something that I had to do out of obligation. I didn't find it fun at all. But now that I'm older and I'm learning a lot about people and life, I find that a lot of peace with God, knowing that He's not wayward. He doesn't stab you in the back. He doesn't give expecting to receive. I don't have to change who I am to make Him happy. I don't have to change my physical appearance or anything about me to please Him. So there's so much richness and goodness and about His greatness and His sovereignty. And I choose to worship Him for the rest of my days, and I'm going to do that. Some people think that I'm taking this lightly, or it's a joke, or I'm just doing it just because of my legal matters or whatever is going on, and that's not true. And I'm going to make sure that I stand up and say that I'm doing this from the bottom of my heart. Religion has always been a part of my life since I was a child. So this is not something that I'm just getting into just now. That would be incorrect and untrue. I've stepped away like anybody else. I've drank, I've smoked, I've done, sexual activities and all kinds of things in my life that I'm not proud of. However, I can't sit here and dwell in regret, because it's made and shaped and formed me into the woman that I am today. So, sorry, forgive this, the screen goes out. I'm using an outdated phone. So, but I'm going on this journey homeless, and I think that it's one heck of a story to tell. I've been persevering myself, just in some of the ways that, in a lot of similar ways that the Jews have had to do. So I've been deprived and ripped away from a lot of my things, and in a lot of the similar ways, including my ancestors, if we want to take it there, so we know that African Americans have endured a lot when it comes to colonization and slavery. And so there's a lot of similarities amongst, Africans and Jews. And I would only hope that there be unity and just keeping the bigger picture in mind of worshiping Hashem and getting to know Him and being the light of the nations that the Jewish people are to fulfill to do. And that's one of the things, one of the elements on this picture, what that represents is being the light of the nations, illuminating that light, igniting your light. And you can only do that by incorporating all of these elements that you see here, into your life, everything it is that He instructed us to do. So I personally feel like if you're going to choose a religion, if you're going to believe in anything, it has to naturally feel like it's something that you want to do. You have to believe in it. It has to be real. You know, for me, it has to be somewhat tangible. So I know that I have some historical, tangible facts, you know, to back up what it is that I'm saying. And I also strongly feel and know and have faith and believe in Judaism like no other religion that I've ever felt this strongly about. So I know that, and it also aligns with my lifestyle. It aligns with me, and I resonate with it. So you want to find something that that resonates with you. In no way am I trying to force or portray myself to be promoting conversion, but I am promoting to draw to the truth. And lost scribes is something that I'm definitely going to be talking about, because historically, the Roman Empire, the Babylonian Empire, you know, those are things when I was on my journey that was really bothersome to me, that there were laws put in place, and that the Bible was burned and abolished, to keep the laws that were put in place were to keep the Jewish people and other people, to colonize people and keep them away from their traditions and their beliefs. And there were pagan holidays, like, you know, like Easter and different things that were incorporated into religion. And for me, I'm a very traditional woman, and I like to go by the origins of things. I like to get to the very bottom of something, to get, you know, investigate into the very core of things. And so I do not like to be like anybody else, to be lied to about anything, although I have lied. And I don't know anybody who's a perfect person who hasn't done half of this stuff. And I want to be clear that there's no sin that's greater than the next. So when somebody's trying to condemn you and call you, shame you, first of all, it's a sin to do that. And second of all, you know, God knows that there's a method behind my madness. I don't maliciously go around lying on people or trying to ruin or sabotage or hurt their lives. In fact, if I've ever done anything like very crucial or critical to that extent, or if I lied, it was me trying to protect someone or trying to figure out who a group of people are that's harassing and following me around. At first, I had no idea who these people were. So anyway, going back to this, and it has nothing to do with me feeling like I need to hide anything, because somebody keeps trying to say that I'm hiding something because they want to get a get-rich-quick scheme, and we're not doing that. That's not what this is about. This is not about hiding anything. At the same hand, God knows me very well, and nobody else has the right to sit up here and try to make money off of me or put me on OnlyFans or anything else, which is disgusting, despicable, disgraceful, and it's absolutely unforgivable for you to do something like that to me. Yes, nobody should be doing those things. Trying to sabotage somebody's family and their life and ruin their character in front of everybody so that they can get rich. No, we're not doing that. And it has nothing to do with that either. You know, if somebody's recording you or claim to have information on you, then they have the information. So then you have everything that you need, and you can put it out there and let the truth be the light. Truth always comes to the light. That's another aspect of the light. It always comes to the light. So what is there to hide? Like, what, you know, anyway, you'll end up journeying through life and finding that you don't need to change yourself to please someone or any of that. It's the light that's inside of you is the most beautiful part of a human being, period. And that's in marriage, relationships, or anything else. That this channel is representing that light. It's about learning for myself even how to be a Proverbs woman, how to be a virtuous woman. And it's a journey. It's not easy. It's easier said than it is done. But it's interesting. It's intriguing to me. And I don't find it being an obligatory. I don't look at it that way. I have a different perception on religion and wanting to incorporate it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video and do a separate video. I want everyone to know to look up the elements that I posted up here on this photo. I want you to look up the Israel flag, what it means, what it stands for. Because only through your journeying of researching what the apple represents in Judaism, what the shofar means, what it represents, what honey represents, all these different elements. And these are not the only elements, they're just some, and the ones that I could fit on here. There's also the Torah up there. And it's at the center because the Torah is the most important, right? But I just want people to research these things on their own, especially people who believe in God. First, you have to believe that there's a God. And if you do, and you believe that there's one God, which is a monotheistic God, and you also believe in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you believe in an Abrahamic faith, which is going to be Muslim, which is going to be Christianity, and if you believe in any of those, or you come from those sectors, I believe that you should start with Judaism because it is the source, it is the core, the first Abrahamic monotheistic religion. And so it only makes sense to start there, ask the rabbis, and do your research, you know. For people who think that the things that you have done in your life is too evil or that you should be casted away, that is condemning somebody. And only God is the one to tell you that you're not good enough to draw close to Him. In fact, sometimes God uses people who are not so, have not, done so much great things in their life, because He really doesn't like self-righteous people either. So, you know, sometimes you might be the person that He uses. It might not just even be myself. I'm hoping that this really resonates with somebody else out there who is a convict or a felon or has done things in their life that people are constantly shaming you and putting you down and trying to keep you from, you know, prevailing and growing in life. Don't allow anybody to do that. Don't allow anybody to dim your light or take your light. Only God can do that. Even if somebody were to kill you, the one in front of the gun lives forever. So if anybody kills you, first of all, your soul and your light is going to be on their body forever. And they can't hide it. They could try to take away all the evidence and try to cover it up and try to lie about it or whatever, but they can't. It's an action that cannot be undone, and it's something that God sees and He knows. So understand and know that He sees you. He recognizes that you matter, no matter what anybody says. You know, that's just very important. I really hope that resonates with somebody and touches somebody. But if you're going through a spiritual journey, especially if you're a woman, I cannot speak for men, and there is a separation in Judaism of men and women for a reason. When it comes to a lot of the traditions, rituals, festivals, holidays, or how we're to conduct ourselves. And so I'm going to be asking a lot of questions and getting a lot of insight, and I hope that the questions that I ask and the information that I put on this channel is going to help, you know, predominantly women, but anybody can, you know, look up this information, because some of this information will definitely be unisex, and some of this information is for women, because I am a woman, and so, you know, I need to know what my role is and what my place is. This is supposed to be informative and me asking questions and insightful. It's not me being an expert, because I'm not in any way, shape, or fashion. I'm still learning. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yes, for all my lost scribes out there, that's going to be my audience, is my lost scribes. Whether you're male, female, doesn't matter. However come, I am going to mainstream a lot of the questions that I may have when it comes to Judaism itself and how to conduct yourself. That's going to come from a woman's standpoint. But for all my lost scribes out there who are seeking truth about religion, about history, about who you are, about your heritage, any of those things, because all of those things connect with religion and the divine higher power, which is something that I've come to learn and know, that hopefully you want to join me in this journey of learning about who I am. You can ask questions about who you are, and you can cultivate and sculpt your life, you know, around Judaism and around Hashem, as I believe Hashem is the one and only true God. And you'll see I'm going to have a declaration. There is a prayer in the Siddur called the Declaration, and I actually want to say that before I begin my channel, because or at the beginning of my videos, because just in case, you never know, you're here today and going tomorrow. So there's the reason why I'm explaining this instead of just doing it. There's a method behind my madness. Always know that there's always a method. But I may go ahead and actually recite that declaration because I want people to know how serious I am about this, how close to my heart it is to me, how much reverence I have for it, and for God. So I think I want to use the declaration. I don't know. We'll see. But to all my lost scribes out there, who believe in scribes, for so many reasons, like, for the scribes that did exist, historically, for history purposes, for the scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, that lost scribes, that channel, and those words to me mean so much. That was when I was on my Christian path, and you could see the transformation because I also have a song that I wrote in Hebrew, but there's a transformation from Christianity to Judaism on that channel, on that YouTube channel, that Lost Scribes. And there's a lot that I had to say about that, but it's a stance. My Lost Scribes are standing to say we're not accepting just random information. We want truth. We want to get to the bottom of who we are historically, what occurred, what happened, what didn't happen, what books of the Bible were removed, were burned and abolished, what was taken out, what was put in, what's pagan, what's not paganism, what's idolatry, what is, I'm going to get into all of these elements, all of these things, all of these factors, all of these different aspects, all these questions that are dwelling inside of me that are. And it's so beautiful. It's divinely beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to have these questions and have this yearning desire, like I earn to learn more about Hashem every day. And I think Judaism is one of the most beautiful religions that you can possibly research or be a part of. There's so many different aspects of it. It's so similar to Africa, the beginning origins of Africa, and how we had all these resources and knowledge and math and science and all these different things that are incorporated in Judaism, numerology and everything else, that you're going to come to find is can be used, that has been considered in Christianity and other religions to be like idolatry and everything like that. However, when you think about it, I do want to speak on this for a little bit because we use numerology and a bit of astrology, actually. We always have, in order to know the different seasons. We wouldn't know what summer, spring, fall, and all that was. We wouldn't have no idea what autumn or anything else like that is had we not used it, had our ancestors not utilized numerology and different things and science and all that and, elements of the earth, period. So it's kind of hypocritical, I think, to say that numerology is something that you shouldn't be using, or you have to use it this way or that way, or some people say the Kabbalah. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they think that the Talmud and the Kabbalah is idolatry, it's idolatralistic, however you say it, whatever. And when I think about it, I think that you should ask questions first before you make that assumption, because we wouldn't have a calendar, or we wouldn't have time. We wouldn't be able to tell time. We wouldn't know when the sun rises and when it sets and all these different things, when the sun is east, rises east or whatever and all that. If we didn't utilize that, we wouldn't have a calendar. We wouldn't know what holidays are. We wouldn't know what day that we're in. We wouldn't know what era that we're in. We wouldn't know what year that we're living in. So we use it for the calendar, just in general, aside from religion, So to me, when I personally thought about it, I'm like, I don't think it's idolatry, but I want to ask Hashem if it is. And I want to see, or I want to ask the rabbi. I want to get more thorough, in-depth knowledge and understanding. And please do that. Do not take anything I say for face value. That's one of the things about the Jews that I love, is that they will, tell you, like, hey, if you disagree, if you're finding something other than what I found, please bring it to my attention, And a lot of religions won't do that. They'll say, I know the truth, this is what it is, I stand firmly on it, this is what I believe, and that's that. And then when you try to question it, they'll come up with an answer that doesn't necessarily answer the question, or it's just based off of their faith or based off of what's in the Bible already. Instead of you opening up your mind and thinking outside the box and saying, let me step outside the Bible and start to understand where the source of all this information is coming from. And that's how what ignited and sparked this journey of mine. So, please, I want to make a disclaimer. In no way am I a professional. In no way am I an expert at Judaism or any of these things. So please make sure that you're asking your local rabbi, go to a synagogue, and get more information to make sure that it's absolutely 1,100% true and correct. Although I will say that most of the things that I say on here, I try to ensure that my sources are viable, that they're verifiable, and that I'm doing the best that I can to give you, the closest thing to the truth that I can. So, with that being said, I know for a fact, for me personally, that Judaism is the religion that I choose. It works for me. I don't have any questions about it. I don't feel like it's been tainted in any kind of way. I don't think that there's all these conspiracy theories behind it. I think that it's proven through the test of time. Historically, the Jews have stayed true to their traditions, to what they believe in. And out of all the religions that I've ever seen, they've been unwavering and unchanging. And that is something that's a solid foundation that I can build my faith on and my beliefs on. And it's something that I'm not going to change. So I declare to this. I do. No matter what anybody says or thinks about it or says about me, this is the me now. This is who I am now. And people have to accept that and, come to terms with that. I'm not going to change my religion or date outside of my religion to please a man or his psychotic thoughts of fantasies of himself with me. No, I'm not doing that. This is something that I'm going to stand the test of time when I stand firmly on this. And anybody who is journeying through this, you're navigating your spiritual compass. Like I said, I do believe that this is something that you should start here. Why not give it a try, look into it, research it? I guarantee you that it's going to be fruitful and delightful. It's the most delightful. I've never even used that word before when it comes to religion. Like I'm in a whole nother world, when it comes to this. I'm actually excited about it. So, and I just wanted to share that with everyone, and I hope that you come to the same realization that this is the true and first and, a substantial religion that you're going to come across. So if you have any questions, please do in the comments, or I may find a way. Now, please keep your comments respectful. It's something that I have to learn, and it's something that I'm doing. I've changed that about myself, and I'm asking everyone to keep their comments very respectful. If you have any questions or have any insight on anything, please do ask. And then questions that you think that I should ask the rabbis, questions that you would like to have answers to, please let me know. But to my lost scribes out there seeking information, journeying on, to my black sheep, to anybody out there who feels singled out, unheard, not important, like you don't matter, you do. And Hashem says you do. And there's a light in you. His light is in you, and I want you to find it. So welcome to She Is Light. You are a light, I'm a light, the world has a light. Any living thing and being that Hashem has created has his light. Allow him to illuminate it. Draw close to him. This is not about me, this is about you drawing close to him. So, but if you have questions about life in general, anything, do let me know. Just keep it respectful, and I may or may not answer it. I may have an answer, I may not have an answer. I don't know. But I'll do my best to reach out to you. But thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the second part of this video. All right, so welcome back to all my lost scribes, and to everyone and anyone out there that has tuned into She Is Light. Welcome back. Here is my collage, and I'm going to go ahead and start to remove some of these elements so that you can see what the Western Wall looks like, and I'll leave the Israel part there. But as you can see, you can already start to see like the structure of it, how it actually looks like the Ten Commandments, like the 2 tablets for the 10 Commandments, and it also looks like the shape of Israel on the map. That's what it represents to me. And as you can see, I put the lights there. I probably would just leave that part there. Let me see. It's just acting crazy. I'm using a super outdated phone. That's how you know that I have a whole lot of, I don't know what the word that I'm looking for. It's like 2 in the morning and I'm doing this. So, yeah. But obviously, I'm very dedicated to this. I would have to be highly dedicated to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning using a outdated phone trying to get this message across to the world. So see, you can see it now, and you see that there's some prayers that are in the middle of the wall, which I absolutely love. And I would love to go put my prayers there for the sake of my family's salvation, for the sake of my salvation. If nothing else in this life, if you're on a religious or a spiritual journey, one of the first questions that you have to ask yourself is, what about my salvation? What is salvation? Is there a heaven or is there a hell? And how can I avoid getting to that place that I don't want to be? Have I lived my life in a way that's representing God, that's in the likeness of God? And is this how I want to continue to live my life? And then you'll start to ask yourself, after you know that there's a God, you believe that there's a God, then you have to start asking yourself all these other questions that I've been asking myself, and you'll start to have a greater, more in-depth, more profound insight on religion and spirituality in general. But I think that this is so absolutely beautiful. I want to go to the Western Wall so bad. It's one of my it's on my to-do list, in this life. Sorry, I don't have all the words put together in my mind right now because or how to articulate what it is I'm trying to say. Because I'm exhausted. And it's been night after night that I've been losing sleep. Just because I laid down and it looks like I'm asleep doesn't mean I'm always asleep. So lots of noise and all kind of stuff going on, but that's okay. And it's not to say this to complain, it's to say it to say that I'm embarking my journey. But this wall signifies, and so does the Jewish flag, spiritually and, in a religious standpoint. It means so much to me, their perseverance, their endurance, like I said, everything it is that they've endured to get to the place that they are now, to finally be able to go back home and worship in the way that God instructed them to do so. I think that's one of the most disgusting things that somebody can do to you is keep you away from your religion. And it's got to be blasphemous. It has to be. So some of the other things that we'll be discussing in this channel is just that, and some of the blasphemous things that have occurred historically when it pertains to religion, and why I do still have the question to a rabbi, to an Orthodox rabbi, because that's the even Hasidic, because that's the realm that I'm going down. But I want to know a lot more about that story, about the book of Matthew, and with Jesus and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, because the whole blasphemous conversation, that's going to be a huge topic in this channel that I'm going to cover. And I want to get to the bottom of that. I want to know what was said and what their stance was. If I could be the fly in the wall and I was there when this was all going down, when it was all happening, so I could actually, you don't hear the telephone game. It's not the he say, she say, or, this watered down information that you get to the source, and it's verifiable information as to what occurred during that time. And, what the laws are that govern what is blasphemous and what is not. I have some questions about that. Rabbi Tovia, if you are watching this or it comes across your way, I would love to sit and have a conversation with you. I just think that he is a beautiful angel sent here to inspire people. He is literally the epitome. Rabbi Tovia, I have a lot of respect for you. I believe that you're what Hashem's likeness is, and being the light of the nation as a Jew. So much reverence and respect to you. But I have to really wanted to show you what this picture looks like. It literally looks like the tabs of the commandments to me. It just does. That's what it represents. The space that's in between the wall at this particular. I don't know what section of the wall this is. It's just a picture, a free photo. Let me be clear, because some people try to say it's a free photo that I found that I thought was just very beautiful. And so it's to say to not take things for granted in your life. For anybody that's in Israel right now that can actually go to the wall and pray, you have no idea how much I would love to go ahead and actually have the freedom and the choice and the will to be able to utilize all the tools that I'm starting to accumulate to be able to perform all the rituals and festivals and high holidays and everything. When you grow up in something, you don't appreciate it, right? And so I say that to say this about religion. And the reason why I want you to look at and research the elements that I put on the wall instead of me giving you the information about it. Because when you research it, you come to find to have more respect, more reverence for it. And you go on a journey, you have an experience. And so things that are just given to you, you don't appreciate. And that's human nature. I come to find that, with people asking me, where are you from? I say I'm from Colorado. It's really cold and everything like that. But it made me strong. It's a part of who I am. And so I'm not going to ever regret that. I still have to pay homage to everything that's made me who I am. So for anybody who's living in Israel, you have the ability and the capability of going to the Western Wall, and you can pray there. You can actually look at it. I encourage you to find what I found in just this photo. I found a jewel. I found something that's more precious than gold with this picture. The commandments are some of the most valuable resources and instructions on this earth that we could have. And a lot of people, they're just like, it's just the commandments and we have to read this all over again. Some people are very impatient, and that's how you can tell that you are building a community of a spiritually inclined person versus people who are still lost versus a lost scribe. And it's not to say that spiritually inclined people are better than lost scribes, because I'm still a lost scribe, right? Like, I'm still learning. I'm not converted. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. But there's a difference. You have to align yourself. And I used to think that I could align myself with anyone. I had no boundaries. I had no self-respect. And for anybody out there that's dealing with this, I just want you to know that you have to align yourself and build a community that's like-minded with who you are or who you want to become. And that's something that I've learned in this life. So this wall and these elements represent pearls of wisdom, represent diamonds, represent jewels, it's gold. It's any and everything that you could possibly need. You need this in your life. It's imperative. You have to have it. Not to say that the physical aspect of these things, but the deeper meaning behind them. The metaphorical aspect of them. So I'm just encouraging people who are to this channel to research these elements. If you're getting started with Judaism, if you're getting started with drawing closer to God, to research these elements. Start there, if nothing else. In Judaism, don't just research an apple, obviously. Research an apple in Judaism. What is the metaphorical or what is the actual meaning behind it? What does it stand for? What does it represent? The representation of it. And you'll start your journey. You'll start your spiritual compass. You'll calibrate your spiritual compass and start navigating on your journey to worshiping Hashem. And it's the most beautiful thing that you'll come to find in your life, and pass it on to your children as He instructed us to do so. It's very imperative to make sure that we're raising our children in the right way. And so I want to definitely give this knowledge to you because it's been given to me. But this wall represents so many things to me, and I wonder what it represents to you. If you're in Israel, I want someone to please reach out to me or leave it in the comments and say, what does the Western Wall represent to you? You know, what are some of the issues or challenges that you face in your life that represents like some of the structure of it, like the cracks and the crevices of it? When you're putting your prayer in that Western Wall, is it just you writing something on a piece of paper and you're sticking it in there, or you're just, you know, ritually saying something just because, you know, it's something that you're supposed to be doing? Or is there a deeper meaning behind it for you? It's a question, you know. I would love to know the thoughts of some of the Jews who are praying at this wall. I want to know what this wall means to you, what it represents to you. And what do these elements, what is the festivals, the rituals? You know, I would love to be enlightened as to what these things mean to you personally. What does it reflect? For me, you know, when I look at this, I look at a lot of the hardships that I've been through. There's been a lot of cracks. There's a lot of hollows. You can see some of the hollow, dark spaces. There's a lot of darkness in my life. There's a lot of things that I've endured that I never thought that I would overcome, being on life support, you know, having surgeries and different things. And people think you should just hit the gym and just, you know, be running a 4K because I'm young. Everything's not about age. Some things are about the things you've endured in your life. You know, just because I'm young doesn't mean that I haven't gone through things. I have restrictions. I had a car accident. My back is hurt. You know, so when I'm out there exercising, I'm trying to go. I think I'm doing great considering everything that I've been through and the physical restrictions that my body is telling me that I have. You have to listen to your body and not listen to people, you know. Do what you can. At least I'm trying. I'm making an effort. But even though there's these dark, hollow spaces in the cracks for me, what I see here is, because I'm very artistic and creative. You know, I love art, actually. And the paper that's stuck in between one of these hollow spaces, and also the light that's reflecting, I don't know if that's the sun. This is the analytical aspect of me that aligns with Judaism and the Jews and how they, you know, study, which is something that I really admire and love. But I feel like the sun is reflecting on the dark hollow. Even though the sun is shining on this wall, there's still these dark hollow spaces, and it definitely represents me and where I'm at in my life. There's all these dark places, these unknown places, these things that I don't know about, that I'm not aware of. There's things going on behind my back that people are doing and saying to my family or whatever the case may be, and it's hurtful and it's painful. But when I look up at the lights and I see the sun reflecting down on what looks like the 10 Commandments and the tablets, it's a promise that God made to me, to you, to everyone, that He's going to be there for you when you seek and reach out to Him. It's a promise. And somebody has decided to use the rainbow as their promise to take me down and my family, which is disgusting to me. And that's not something that's godly-like, first and foremost. But hey, you know, who am I to judge? That's you, do your thing. But for me, I'm choosing to look at this light as inspiration, a divine inspiration for me to continue journeying down this Jewish path of mine. You know, nothing you can say or do can take me away from my God. It's not happening. So no matter what kind of darkness it is that I endure, that you endure, the world, we're in a dark time. We have a lot of wars. There's a lot of evilness that's been occurring throughout history, and just in general. There's a lot of darkness behind That type, but see, that's another aspect. It's behind. It's beneath you. It's behind. Put it behind you. Because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There is light shining on those, what looks like rocks, but you know, the wall, the aspects of the wall. And there is going to be hardships. It's not smooth sailing. Converting to Judaism, I don't think it's something I should be able to hop, skip, jump, and do. I'm okay with putting in the work. I'm okay with proving myself and with showing him that I'm serious. And I just hope that this gives someone hope and inspiration as well, that if you put in the work and you seek him like he says you should, that you'll come to find and see all the benefits and the rewards, the blessings that'll come your way, no matter what somebody tries to take from you. When you belong to God, you're unstoppable. You're untouchable. He's going to protect you at all costs. Even if that means that your physical being is down, your spirit is always with him. I strongly believe that. And I'm going to stand strong on protecting my family. No, none of my family members are perfect. But no one understands that they're all that I have. They're all that I know. And I'm going to love them no matter what. And I'm going to stand strong on this journey and this fight to ensure that God doesn't forget my family and forget me. And knows that we are a part of him, that we want to be with him and a part of him. And we will, whenever that time comes. And I'm not afraid of that. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. When you get on a plane, when you go anywhere, when you do anything, you might be a little scared. Everybody gets scared. That's the human nature. But you shouldn't be afraid. You should never let anybody make you fearful of them or anything. I don't believe that, especially when you have God in your life and you believe in him. So I just wanted to go ahead and get some insight on the wall itself. If I go ahead and zoom in on this, to me, I see kind of a structure or shape of Israel. And that's why I put that there. So, yeah. Thank you for tuning in to She Israelites. There's going to be a myriad of topics that we're going to cover. Sometimes it's about life. Sometimes it's about what's going on in the world. Sometimes we might have a little girl talk. I could use a community. This is where, since someone's trying to steal my community from me, Hashem said you can build your own and make sure that these people are in the likeness of him and they have the same goal in mind. And so anybody that doesn't, that's okay. Just continue to be the light to reach out to them to make sure that they know that they too can walk in the same likeness. And I believe that that's what my calling is. So to me, this is interesting. I think it's beautiful. Please let me know if you have any experience of traveling to and abroad to Israel. Let me know about your journey. Let me know about your prayers at the Western Wall. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, pray and seek Hashem with all your heart and soul.